name is Timur Zaman from Line of Credit AI, and today I'm going to talk about the best practices in mirroring funds. Now, before I move on, I just want to simplify mirroring funds as simple as I can because it's very complicated and there's 10 million different ways of mirroring funds. The most simplified version is this. If you're familiar with Windows, imagine I'm copying and pasting. Really, that's what mirroring of funds is. I'm copying and pasting. So imagine going to a Word document, copying a paragraph and pasting it in another Word document. You're doing that, just the only difference is you're doing it with funds, you're doing it with two different banks, and in many cases you're doing it in two different legal jurisdictions. So, several ways of mirroring funds, and I want to talk about some ways and best practices to consider. First of all, there are lots of dependencies when you want to mirror funds. The first one is a financial institution that the funds are located in. It's a lot more easier as an analogy or as an example to mirror funds or transfer funds or however you want to think about it from a tier A bank to another tier A bank. Very easy to do. It's a lot harder when it's a tier C bank and a tier E bank, a tier A bank, and it's a lot harder to do when it's two no-name banks in two different legal jurisdictions. It requires the amount of legwork you need to do is a lot more. The second thing you want to consider is a country that the capital is going to go into. As of the date of shooting this video, the Belize as an example, as a country, it's very easy to put money into Belize. Very easy to put money into Belize. Now, if you want to take money out of Belize, it's a very different story. Like really a different story. So when it comes to mirroring funds, you want to think about the bank you've got the capital in. You probably want to think about a different bank you want to put the money into. This in a different legal jurisdiction. You want to also think about how easy is it to get that out, and understanding that will make a massive difference to decisions you make. And then the third thing that makes a difference is the amount of capital you need to mirror funds. So if there's like $7 million, I think most bankers will laugh at you if it's a small amount of funds. To mirror funds, you want to have $70 million, you want to have $150 million, you want to have billions of dollars that you want to mirror from one institution to another. So I just want to let you know there are lots of factors that determines the amount of funds that you want to mirror. Now, one of the ways that I think is important is even if you have $1 billion and you want to mirror from, let's say, country A, bank A to country B, bank B, how I would highly recommend it to do it in small chunks. So I wouldn't send $1 billion from bank A to bank B. I would send a whole bunch of $500,000 as a way to structure it that way, etc. Now on the structure side, there's also different ways of doing that. One particular model is to acquire a company or set up a company in the company that you want the funds to be mirrored into. So if you have funds in country A, bank A, and you want to mirror those funds in country B, bank B, one possible way, and this is not the only way, is to set up a corporation in country B. The company in country B may want to make an investment in country B, and like there are lots of legal jurisdictional programs like immigration investment programs, for instance. There's lots of ways of doing this, but you may want to set up a corporation in country B, and then you want to have the corporation in country B to acquire and buy the corporation in country A where you want to mirror the funds into. The acquiring company wants to make an investment, then you want to pick a bank that has and a country that has a judiciary system. That's really important. If you pick a country and a financial institution that doesn't have adhere to judiciary laws, it becomes a very high probability and a risk of a lot of scam and a lot of money to be stolen away. So I highly recommend thinking through the judiciary system of the country B and the institution that you want to put money into, or the lawful legal jurisdiction that adhere to laws of the local country. Then depending on the amount of money you are also transferring, you may want to, and I highly recommend this, to contact the Treasury Department of Governments on the sending side as well as the receiving side, not the banks, the governments, and let them know that this amount of capital is going to be walking into their country. or this amount of capital wants to leave the country, and then you may want to do some legal paperwork. Depending on the amount of money you want to transfer, be contacting the Treasury Department, the correct governmental authorities is super important to do that. As you're doing that, there's other things you want to be thinking about. So for instance, once you're sending money from country A, company A to country B, company B, you want to be very, very patient. Oftentimes, if it's a third world country, you want to be extremely patient. If it is a developed country, obviously the patience time isn't required to be there. And in a public domain video, I don't want to talk about the time frame for being patient. First of all, I'm not that much of a patient person myself, so that always challenges me, personally speaking, but it just requires a lot of patience. And then when you're mirroring, there's different ways of mirroring. One is called the manual download, and the manual download is one that I highly recommend not to do. Now, there are lots of reasons why people want to do a manual download. The Swift requirements, Swift capabilities, reporting capabilities, and so on. Why I personally don't like the manual download is because of the name, manual download. Somebody on the receiving side is manually putting a lot of keys. Unless you think humans are perfect, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I highly recommend not doing manual download. Part one. Part two, if there's a lot of money, that person who's manually downloading something can disappear with that money. And so I just recommend not to do manual downloads, and I'll just put a period on that. And then the other models, and now there's other models of doing mirroring, and one is called single customer credit, SCCT as a phrase for it. The other version for it is called single customer cash transfer, where the sending bank is mirroring the funds or the bank that is being mirrored into. And oftentimes, instead of providing cash, what the receiving bank provides in exchange is a line of credit or loan. And this is really instrumental because the bank that's getting the line of credit or the loan is able to use cash that they desperately need. The sending bank, the one that's issuing the line of credit or loan, is taking a lot of assets. I can tell you during financial core ends for that financial institution, those executives are getting a very nice bonus check because they're asset related. Assets under management is a very nice number. I'll just leave it as simple as that. And I want to tell you, it's very, very expensive to do mirroring, especially if you're doing a lot of, if you have a lot of cash that you mirror. First is benefit to the parties. The sending bank is not doing it for free. They want 40 to 60%. If the government is involved, I promise you there's a whole bunch of other fees that will come into this in some way or form. The receiving bank, although they're getting a higher currency for it, and they should be grateful, they may or may not have some additional fees. Whatever the fees are for doing mirroring, or whatever your anticipated fees are, my recommendation is to 2x it. So if you think 5% is going to go into whatever you think the line items are to do mirroring, my invitation to consider just walk into the transaction with the concept of doing a 2xing. And I always recommend using trustees to receive the money, especially in a foreign country, and a trusted trustee. Now, having said that, I also want to contradict myself for a minute. When you have two law firms, especially if they have not done mirroring before, it becomes an administrative nightmare. Instead of them enabling what you want to do, they are charging a lot of billable hours, and then they will get into arguments and fights with each other, and you're paying for arguments and fights between two law firms who just don't know what mirroring is about. My recommendation is just a recommendation, is to find a senior experienced asset manager or consulting company that has done this before, that has a resume, that has testimonials or whatever that looks like, and have them create a strategy, and then have them work, identify two law firms that are rated A or triple rated A or whatever that is, and then have those law firms telling them exactly what they need to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And if you incur that consulting fee with an experienced consultant or asset manager, the legal fees dramatically goes down, the speed of transaction is there, And you want to get the consultant to tell you which country the funds should be married to and why. You want to pick the financial institution, why you're picking this financial institution versus the other guy. Now, and truthfully, again, depending on where you're mirroring to, you can have your cake and eat it too. It can be like the world's top #1 bank, and this is going to happen, that's going to happen. So keep away from the sales pitch and the benefits of all that. You just have to be lots of patience, and just make sure you hire to read the law firms. But the most important part in this particular topic is having an asset manager or consultant that has a lot of experience and can do this and can walk you through it. My name is Tamer Zaman from Credit.ai. I want to talk a little bit about why people choose us. Oftentimes when you're mirroring or you're looking to get a line of credit, people choose us because the amount of capital we can get them for them is a lot more than not using us. And we have our own intellectual property and how we leverage or get the capital we get. The market loves our credibility, our ability to execute, our ability to, we're capable. I just want to tell you we have some capabilities and experience in doing things correctly, ethically. We know which institutions to talk to. We know which government agencies to contact and why and what the firms are in. And we charge money, obviously, for that experience that we bring to the table. But then also, I know for a fact we operate at a very high level of integrity and trust. My name is Tamer Zaman. If you found this video helpful, please like it, subscribe to our video channel, and I look forward to the opportunity working with you. Thank you.